Hey guys, it's Max again, doing another Paintsploration. I just think that these are so much fun. So I start off as always with a big soft brush, just plopping in some shapes. I knew that I wanted um, something kind of like organic, something with some it's almost like tendon action going on, and I wanted um, this little cluster with stuff inside of it, glowing, some interior lights, some really funky lighting. Probably in the spirit of Paintsploration, I overplanned. I think that for this type of painting, you should go in with just empty head. So maybe a better title for this would just be purely abstract. Um, although not in the style of like American action painting or like a Kandinsky where it's just like weird shapes floating in space. I really do like making these where I can play around with interesting lighting and interesting forms and textures that might be real things. For instance, these sort of tendrils coming out, I wanted to evoke either like muscle fibers or um, plant roots, just like organic, spindly stuff. And then I decided, well, I need some other things in space here. So this right here I'm blopping in is sort of like jelly. I don't know. Kind of reminiscent of the other paint exploration I did with um, sort of like a geode. So right there, I want to talk about that because I did not like the composition. My cluster was just smack dab in the middle and it was pretty big and it was the same size as my jelly glob. So I made the cluster smaller, the blob bigger, brought it forward a bit more, just to change up the composition. And I think it's a lot better. Maybe I could have pushed it further. This still feels kind of safe, but obviously this isn't the end of the video. So in here I have these sort of darker shapes which are going to become more jelly blobs, and then a atmospheric background. I'm not really sure where we are. I'm not sure how big this is. Maybe we're in like a huge area. Maybe this cluster is just enormous. Or maybe we are under a microscope looking at some strange alien life form. Something interesting anyway. I don't know. If you have an idea of like what this thing could be, drop me a comment. What is this thing? What's its story? Is it gonna turn into something? Sometimes I look at it and I think it could be a chrysalis or some sort of organic energy reactor with these orbs glowing inside. And of course, I needed to get the light reflected on our jelly, which based on like the angles of where the light source would be versus the reflections on my jelly blob, that doesn't really match up. So don't pay too much attention to that. I just wanted to have some of the light in there. I realized like way later, like hang on, I don't think that the light would reflect like that from this angle, but oh well. Here I am now working in just some harder edges. This piece really was a lot of push and pull between soft and hard. I started with these very soft brushes, very big round soft brushes, and everything starts to feel like it's covered in Vaseline after a certain point, and sometimes that's good. Like for my jelly blobs, I like that. and I'm putting in with like a bubble spray brush, getting some bubbles. I knock those down a lot. they they don't stay that intense, but I like it. It gives like a bit of feeling like it's a viscous fluid rather than a glassy solid. I think the geode Paintsploration ended up a little too, vast, like greasy, like I mentioned, like covered in Vaseline. Meanwhile, the hard edges feel a lot more like a hard plastic, so I wanted something that was between those two extremes. Still playing around a lot with texture, figuring out what I like, what I don't like with this type of painting. I think it's very important to have a good mix between soft and hard, organic and inorganic. This one definitely went very organic, especially with these sort of specular highlights, these little pops, little reflections, the way that the shadows fall, the way that the jelly will wrap around the cluster. So I'm messing around with some other stuff where I'm trying to be very intentional about the direction of the brush stroke in order to indicate form. If you have two flat shapes next to each other, it might indicate a corner or an edge, whereas a brush stroke will actually show direction, because then it's not just one shape, it's many small shapes. And I think that's something that I'm going to definitely keep in mind in the future. It's very good for textures. So I put in my signature here, which means I'm done, except I'm not. I keep going because I wanted the jelly to come over the cluster a bit. I wanted them to just interact more. So that's one thing that I change. So usually when I do these, I do it in just like 2 sessions, sometimes 3. I think that this one was like 4 sessions. Had kind of a crazy week when I sat down to make this. I don't usually paint my feelings, but I was suggested that I get some of my feelings out in a painting, and this ended up being like very bright and colorful actually. So read into that what you will. I think that it was certainly very nice to make. Definitely got my mind off of things that were going on. Still working out these roots. I think that a good study for me, note to self, future Max, study tree roots, study plant roots. I gotta get those like viney shapes. It becomes very like textural and very noisy, but I think like that sort of woody wrapping that like a good vine gets could be very important for something like this. All right, we're reaching the end for real this time. So as always, if you have an idea of something that I should paint or draw, leave me a comment. And please do like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm, helps get my videos out to other people, and share it with someone you like. Thanks so much. Bye.